Hello, language explorers. Welcome to Coffee English. Today I want to share something extraordinary with you. This may help you see English learning in a different way. Imagine if I told you that learning English is not just about getting a better job or passing an exam. What if learning English could give you the power to create entire worlds, to think in ways you never thought possible, and to unlock a version of yourself that you did not even know existed? This episode will show you exactly how that is possible. We will explore the fascinating story of a man who turned his love for languages into the most beloved fantasy world of all time. More importantly, you will discover how his methods can transform your English learning from boring memorization into an exciting, creative adventure. By the end of this episode, you will understand why your brain becomes more powerful with every English word you learn. You will discover practical techniques that make English learning feel like play instead of work. And you will have a completely new motivation for continuing your English journey. Before we begin, I would love to know where you are listening from and what time it is for you right now. Leave a comment and tell me your country and your local time. I always find it amazing how our Coffee English community spans across different time zones and cultures. Now, let me tell you about a man whose story will inspire you to see English learning in a completely new way. In a small village in England more than a century ago, a young boy sat by candlelight, creating something that had never existed before. He was not drawing pictures or building with blocks. He was creating languages, complete languages with their own grammar, vocabulary, and sounds. This boy was John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, and his childhood hobby would eventually give birth to Middle-earth, hobbits, elves, and a story that would capture the hearts of millions around the world. But here is what most people do not know about Tolkien. He did not start by writing stories. He started by falling in love with languages. By the time he was an adult, he could read and understand many languages including Latin, Greek, Finnish, Old English, and several other ancient languages. He was known to have spoken at least 8 languages fluently and could read many more. He created his own languages too, with Quenya and Sindarin being his most developed Elvish languages, each with complete grammar and vocabulary. And then something magical happened. All those languages in his mind started talking to each other. They began creating stories, histories, and entire civilizations. The languages came first, and the stories followed. This is the first lesson we can learn from Tolkien. Language is not just a tool for communication. Language is a tool for creation. Every word you learn in English is not just helping you communicate better. It is giving you new ways to think, new ways to see the world, and new ways to express ideas that you could not express before. Let me share with you what modern science tells us about this. Scientists have studied people who speak multiple languages for many years. They found that people who speak 2 or more languages have sharper brains, better memory, and even protection against brain diseases as they get older. When you learn English as a second language, you are actually changing how your brain works. Learning multiple languages changes your brain and makes it more flexible and stronger. Think of your brain like a muscle. Every time you learn a new English word or practice English grammar, you are making that muscle stronger. But it is not just your language muscle that gets stronger. Scientists have found that people who speak 2 languages have better memory and can focus better than people who speak only 1 language. This means that learning English makes you better at everything else too. You become better at solving problems, better at remembering information, and better at focusing on important tasks. When Tolkien was learning all those languages, he was not just preparing to write fantasy stories. He was preparing his brain to be creative in ways that single-language speakers could never achieve. But how did Tolkien actually learn languages? How did he go from being a regular student to someone who could create entire linguistic systems? The answer lies in his approach, and this is where his method becomes incredibly valuable for your English learning. Tolkien did not learn languages by memorizing vocabulary lists or studying grammar rules for hours. Instead, he learned languages by playing with them. He treated languages like puzzles to solve, like games to play, like worlds to explore. When he was learning a new language, he would immediately start asking creative questions. How does this language express love differently than my native language? What sounds does this language have that English does not have? How does the grammar of this language change the way its speakers think about time, relationships, or emotions? This is exactly what you should be doing with English. Instead of just learning that the word serendipity means a pleasant surprise, ask yourself deeper questions. What does it tell us about English-speaking culture that they have a specific word for this feeling? How is this different from how your native language expresses the same idea? When you start asking these questions, English stops being a subject to study and becomes a world to explore. Tolkien also understood something that modern language learners often forget. He knew that languages are not just collections of words and rules. Languages are living systems that carry the thoughts, emotions, and dreams of the people who speak them. Every time you learn English, you are not just learning to communicate with English speakers. You are learning to think like English speakers. You are gaining access to centuries of English literature, science, philosophy, and culture. You are joining a global community of people who use English to share ideas and solve problems. This is why Tolkien's approach was so powerful. He did not see languages as separate subjects to master. He saw them as doorways into different ways of being human. When he learned Welsh, he gained access to ancient Celtic wisdom. When he learned Finnish, he discovered new ways to think about nature and mythology. When he studied Old English, he connected with the thoughts and dreams of people who lived 1,000 years ago. The same thing happens when you learn English today. You are not just learning vocabulary and grammar. You are connecting with millions of people around the world who use English to express their deepest thoughts and most creative ideas. Now let me share with you some practical ways to apply Tolkien's method to your English learning. These techniques will transform your daily English practice from boring repetition into exciting discovery. First, start creating with English instead of just consuming it. Tolkien did not just read in the languages he was learning. He wrote poetry, created stories, and even invented new words. You can do the same with English. Instead of just reading English texts, start writing your own. Write about your day, your dreams, your opinions about movies or books. Do not worry about making mistakes. Focus on expressing your unique thoughts in English. Second, fall in love with the sounds of English. Tolkien was fascinated by the music of languages. He would spend hours just listening to how different languages sounded, even when he did not understand their meaning. Do the same with English. Listen to English poetry, songs, and speeches not just for meaning, but for beauty. Notice how English sounds different from your native language. Appreciate the rhythm and melody of English pronunciation. Third, become a detective of English culture. Every English word carries cultural information. When you learn the word privacy, you are learning about how English-speaking cultures value individual space. When you learn about small talk, you are discovering how English speakers build relationships. Start collecting these cultural insights like Tolkien collected linguistic patterns. Fourth, connect English to your passions. Tolkien connected his language learning to his love of mythology and literature. What are you passionate about? Sports, music, cooking, technology? Start learning English through your interests. Read English articles about your hobbies. Watch English videos about subjects you love. This way, English becomes a bridge to more of what you already enjoy. And here is perhaps the most important lesson from Tolkien's approach. He never learned languages just to check them off a list. He learned them because each language opened up new possibilities for creativity and expression. This is exactly how you should think about English. You are not learning English just to pass a test or get a job, although those benefits will come naturally. You are learning English to become a more creative, more expressive, more powerful version of yourself. Now let me share with you today's phrase. In every episode of Coffee English, we explore one phrase that captures something important about language and life. Today's phrase is perfect for our discussion about Tolkien and creativity. The phrase is to break new ground. This means to do something innovative, to create something that has never been done before. Tolkien certainly broke new ground when he created his fantasy languages and worlds. You break new ground every time you express an idea in English that you have never expressed before. Here is how to use this phrase. You might say, "This research breaks new ground in understanding climate change." Or, "Her approach to teaching English breaks new ground by connecting language learning to creative writing." Or, "Every time I write in English, I feel like I am breaking new ground in my own personal development." Notice how this phrase connects perfectly to our discussion today. Learning English is not just about following rules that other people created. It is about breaking new ground in your own life. It is about creating new possibilities for yourself that did not exist before you started learning English. Think about this for a moment. Before you started learning English, there were thoughts you could not express, books you could not read, people you could not communicate with, and opportunities you could not pursue. Every step in your English learning journey breaks new ground in expanding what is possible for your life. This brings us to the most inspiring part of Tolkien's story. He did not create Middle-earth alone. His languages and stories have inspired millions of people around the world to create their own stories, learn new languages, and explore their own creativity. His work broke new ground not just for himself, but for countless others who came after him. The same thing can happen with your English learning. When you master English, you do not just benefit yourself. You become part of a global community of people who use English to solve problems, share ideas, and create beautiful things. You become someone who can inspire others in your own language to start their English learning journey. I want you to imagine your future self, 5 years from now, completely confident in English. What will you create with your English skills? What ideas will you share? What problems will you help solve? What beautiful things will you write or say? What new ground will you break? Maybe you will write stories that help children in your country fall in love with reading. Maybe you will start a business that connects your local community with the global economy. Maybe you will become a teacher who inspires the next generation of language learners. Maybe you will simply become someone who can express their thoughts and feelings with complete freedom and creativity. Whatever your future holds, remember that every English word you learn today is not just preparing you for tomorrow. It is changing who you are right now. It is making your brain more flexible, your thinking more creative, and your possibilities more limitless. Tolkien spent his entire life proving that languages are magic. They have the power to create worlds, connect cultures, and transform the people who learn them. Your English learning journey is your own magical adventure. Every lesson is a step deeper into a world of infinite possibilities. Before we finish today, I want to give you a challenge. This week, I want you to break new ground in your English learning. Choose one thing you have never done in English before and do it. Write a poem, even if you think you are not a poet. Record yourself speaking about something you care deeply about. Start a conversation with an English speaker about a topic that matters to you. Create something unique and personal in English. Remember, Tolkien did not become a master of languages by playing it safe. He became extraordinary by being willing to experiment, make mistakes, and push beyond his comfort zone. The same courage that helped him create Middle-earth can help you master English. Your English learning journey is not just about reaching a destination. It is about who you become along the way. Every day you study English, you become more like the person you were meant to be. More creative, more confident, more connected to the world around you. Thank you for joining me on Coffee English today. Remember that you are not just learning a language. You are becoming a language creator, just like Tolkien. You are breaking new ground with every word you learn and every sentence you speak. Keep exploring, keep creating, and keep breaking new ground. I will see you in the next episode, where we will discover another amazing story that will inspire your English learning journey. Until then, keep brewing your English skills, one word at a time.